Hello, and welcome to Temple of the False Pod, where decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I am Andy.
I am Bruce.
Welcome to the new season. Welcome to the new year. Happy New Year to you, Bruce. Happy New Year to you, audience. Happy New Year to my wife in the other room. Happy New Year to my cat. Happy New Year to your wife. Happy New Year to your children. Happy New Year to the playgroup. Happy New Year to the world.
Happy New Year to all of you and the listeners out there.
There you go.
And the viewers.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, good job. Press the subscribe button. With it being the new year and a new season, we figured we'd take this first episode and talk a little about our New Year's resolutions, but like just the magic ones.
Yeah, I can tell you about my New Year's resolutions to stay healthy and stuff, but we already know those ones are crapped out by the middle of January. I guarantee that they'll
by the time this episode goes out.
Yeah, I'll be dangerously close to already missing my regular resolutions. But the magic ones, I've got one that I suspect won't make it to the end of the year. But the other ones, I think I can do that.
Mine are pretty simple. We each pick two, and we're just going to talk about them, I guess. I mean,
yeah.
This is a magic podcast where we like to talk about casual magic casually. Let's just jump right into it, you know?
You bet.
My first resolution is
Yeah.
probably my bigger resolution of the two. I want to go to an LGS at some point this year, at least once. I told myself I would play Magic in person somewhere in LA last year, 2023. I did not. I'd love to find a regular place to play Magic. It's hard to do without a car in LA, but that's my resolution. I've heard such good things about playing at local game stores. I want to support local game stores, and the best way to do that is be part of the community. I just want to play more Magic. I think outside of BrewCon, I played 2 games this year, but I don't know. It was hard to even choose a deck to play for that game because I was like, I've got 10 decks. Which one do I play? I haven't played any of them since May.
Right. And it gets awfully hard to keep maintaining your decks. Mm-hmm. Watching the new cards come out if you're not getting a chance to play with any kind of regularity. And, besides, any opportunity to support your local game store, that's great. That's great by me. So
I will mention, too, that I don't think I bought a single card in the year of 2023. So
I will say I did buy cards, but normally over the course of the year I buy cards and I'll buy product as well. I'll buy, a couple of commander decks. Maybe I'll buy a box of something. This time around, well, okay, I bought 2 boxes, which is actually one more than I was thinking I did just a few minutes ago. But I bought 2 boxes. I've only opened one of them.
Oh, okay.
So
was it Baldur's Gate?
I opened one at BrewCon, and I have one more. And yes, they were both Baldur's Gate because I really like that set. And there was still a lot.
Good.
Yeah, there's so much stuff from Baldur's Gate that I still don't own. So, and I'm looking forward to, I'll talk about that part in a second. But
LGSs, I mean, even just picking up a card or 2 or some sleeves, I just haven't made it. I think I went to the closest LGS once back in 2021, like when we first moved here.
Yeah.
Or, 2022. 2022. I don't know what year it is. At the end of 2022 in, December.
Right.
And that was it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's my first one.
Right. So my first one, I want more variety in my weekly Magic games. Now, I have a group that comes every Thursday night to play Magic at my place, assuming that I can be there to play Magic. But in the course of the last year, it was funny, I talked to Ian, one of our newer players, and we have only played Commander for the entire year. And this was a group that, when we started playing, and the group it has existed longer than Commander has. So we started out with 60 card casual, but then with Commander coming in, now we did 60 card and Commander, and then we would throw in the odd night with a draft, whether it was a regular set, a group game specific set like Conspiracy or whichever, or just a regular set and just draft. I used to do pre-releases for little kids at my local library. So I was getting all these pre-release packs. So a lot of times, every time the new set came out, I had a lot of extra pre-release packs. Me and the group everybody would pony up a few bucks and buy one of the pre-release packs from me, and we would do a pre-release night. So there was a fair bit of variety there. So I think at one point we were playing Commander 2 out of every 4 nights, because we sort of had 1 week when everybody really wanted to draft a set, and then there was the other 2 weeks were Commander, and then maybe a night was 60 card, or maybe a night was something else. And I want to get back to that at least a little bit. So I'm going to start trying to designate probably the last Thursday of the month as the variety.
Yeah.
And put it out to people as to what they'd like to see or try to do, other than just a steady stream of Commander. And I'm not even looking to make the whole night that one thing. So I'd love to do, that Thursday we're going to play at least one game of 60 card casual, and then we can switch back to Commander. Or we can do an Oathbreaker night, or we can do, to try and get a little more variety in, just to spice things up. I do think that I think everybody will appreciate a bit of a change, a shake up to the regular. And if everybody knows about it far enough ahead of time, it means people can plan for it, because you can't just suddenly surprise people and say you're playing 60 card casual if all anybody has is a Commander deck. So so we'll want to try and get that set up, and that's my first resolution for 2024.
Yeah, and I like. That's how I got my first couple pre-releases in was through you. Even to the extent that when the pandemic hit, you stopped getting supply just because you weren't able to do the in-person pre-release.
Right.
But my local game store back in Boston, shout out to Pandemonium, was still selling them over the counter.
Sure.
And was trying to do them through Spell Table. It was always such a nice memory to do it though in person at your place, because it was people you knew. It was just a fun time to try new things. Which brings me to my second resolution, which is kind of try to build outside of what I'm used to. I'm really used to a lot of either aristocrat kind of things, or artifacts, or a lot of big beefy guys, but I want to build more a more control centric deck. Just one.
Okay.
That's all. Just one. I know I don't play a lot of blue, and I know that I don't play a lot of counters. Some of that is ingrained in me as a player. But to kind of exercise that, especially with my whole idea of it's not having the card in your deck, it's when you play it or how you play it,
Sure.
The card isn't inherently broken. It's how nice do you want to be?
Right.
So I should kind of put my money where my mouth is and use counters in decks, even sparingly, but learn how to do that. That's
you mean counter spells, right?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Counter
no
spells.
problem. Because if you need to learn how to put counters into decks, I can show you that.
Oh, I've got that under my belt.
Yeah. You don't seem to have an issue with counters.
No. But no. Blue counter spells. Still not ready for the dive into tutors, but counter spells and learning kind of the correct way that I want to use them. Maybe not necessarily every chance I get, but also not always at the apex of the game.
I will say it was interesting because I felt like I was having the same issue with my decks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started keeping track of what colors were in my decks, with the idea being that every time I would go to build a new deck, rather than say, what do I want to build, I would look at the decks and choose the colors that were the least represented. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm going to build a deck with these two colors because these are the colors that I play the least.
Yeah.
And then, you scroll through and I would just find a commander and then start building around that. The problem with what I do as compared to with what you're resolving to do, I still play the same style.
Yeah.
My blue decks, well, I've got Brutaclad, so it's tokens. I've got, I'm trying to think of any of the other, well, I've got...
Marchesa, which is counters.
Marchesa, which is counter. Muzio. Well, Muzio isn't counters, but he's not blue, because it's basically an artifact deck with blue on top of it. Mm-hmm. So that I can just, play out big artifacts. Or blue artifacts. I mean, we all know that's not really what blue's focus is. I have yet to reach the point that you're talking about in trying to build decks that do, dramatically different things. I have 15 decks, and I think easily half of them are all counter or create a token creature that X, Y, Z. Those are most of my decks, I think.
Yeah, even so much as your Yenit deck, which is just trying to cheat out big spells. Like, that's not necessarily the blue thing.
Right, it just happens to have blue in it.
Right, or your Ineaz deck, which is essentially flying tokens to an extent.
Yeah, Ineaz isn't blue. I mean,
it just has blue in it.
It's a white creature deck with white flying creatures that has some blue in it.
Yeah, it's Azorius Flying Men.
Right, and it just and you're right. I don't know that there's even a single counterspell in that deck. Other than, there's probably, I think some of the removal is bounce.
Yeah.
As opposed to just direct removal. But
it's interesting, because we'll see next week. But with this resolution, it's not only wanting to play more counter spells, is this idea that I'm realizing that, like, counter spells aren't the bane of my existence. It's it's a lot of things, including the politics of the table, but also not going full into a plan. I think that a lot of blue will teach me over the year, like, kind of be a little bit more reserved. Don't put everything on the table at once. Be ready for a bigger play next turn, whether it's mine or somebody else's. And I think overall it's going to help me slow down, which is good. And I'm hoping, too, that, like, it'll get rid of that stigma for me, because I think that a lot of the frustration I have in games comes from getting things countered, but, like, also not willing to play the counter back, So
right.
If I'm willing to, maybe it'll frustrate me less. So it's protection, So
yeah, absolutely. So last year, I started keeping track of the decks. I made you and I had I think it was Dan Sheehan had said something last year about taking all of your decks at the new year, throwing them all out, and just building brand new decks, with the idea being that you'll get to reuse your cards and put them into different decks and have them do different things, and it'll be it's just a sort of a restart. And we both liked the idea, but I looked at it and realized I build decks way too slowly for that to be effective, because then I just won't have decks. So what I opted to do is cap them at 15, which meant that I would have to choose a deck to discard when I built a new deck. And that has worked really well over the course of the year. The limiter, though, is that what I've discovered, so I only built and played 4 new decks for 2023.
Oh, wow.
It was just 4. Now, I built more than that, because we built decks for the show. I've built some other stuff. I got 85 cards into a 100-card deck and then thought, I don't like this idea. I have built more than 4 decks, but I've only built and put together 4 decks for 2023. I want to lift that up. I want to get up to 6, at least 6. I don't think that's an outrageous number. I'm not going to say that I want to build and play a new deck every month. That's not realistic.
Especially with your other resolution to play less Commander. If you're building, a deck a month and you're only playing 3 Commander games a month.
Well, I'm playing 3. If I'm only playing Commander,
Or 3 nights.
3 nights a month. But you know as well as I do, most nights you get
a
between
game
1 and
average
3
of a
games.
Game and a half, yeah.
Right.
2, maybe.
So it's likely that if I'm building a deck every month, there may very well end up being decks that I have built that may not see play this year. So we're not going to do that. But I think getting to 6 decks is not unrealistic.
Yeah.
I want there to be a little more churn in the decks that I own. I started looking back at some of the decks that I do have. Yeah, I've got decks that are well over 10 years old.
Yeah.
And some of those decks haven't even seen new card. But it means I've been playing the exact same deck for that long. So I want to shift things up a little bit. There are some of the decks that I'm currently running that it's time for them to be set aside or get a dramatic overhaul. And with the number of commanders that are coming out, I'm confident I can find 6 that I really want to build and will play. Shouldn't be that hard. So
yeah, we were talking about this a couple days ago, but you had mentioned we had how many precons this year? 30? Or no, it was 26.
26, yeah.
Because it was like one every 2 weeks.
Right, it was one every 2 weeks. And those are just the precons.
Right.
And we know that every precon's got, at
3,
least
4?
3 possible commanders. Forget about the number of legendary creatures in each of them. And we know that all of the major sets have significant numbers of legendary. There is no shortages of commanders to build around. If anything, the only restriction is I have to try and pick just one.
Right, yeah.
So,
yeah.
And as it stands, I still have plenty of commanders that I own that have been sitting in a library card catalog for years, to be a commander in a deck or being put in a deck. So even then, building 6 decks just should not be that. I don't think that's a resolution that I'll have a hard time with.
Yeah. I guess I have a few honorable mentions that I don't want to get too deep into because they're self-explanatory.
Yeah.
First being, if I have an idea, I'm going to write it down, whether it's for a podcast or a deck, because I feel like so often I'm like, I want to play this commander, or I want to build a deck around this commander, but then I just forget it. And the other thing is I want to draft more. I drafted I think twice, and they was both at BrewCon. Oh, yeah. And speaking of BrewCon, not to make you feel bad, you said you had made 4 decks this whole year. I think I made 2 or 3, and it was just for BrewCon.
Right.
I play again. I'll repeat this. I played Magic, if we count BrewCon as 1, 3 times this year. So.
Yeah, so you built a deck for just about every single time you got to play Magic.
Mm. And I guess I should also be more precise. I played a lot of Arena this year. I didn't. But I'm talking about in person or spell table, commander, or 6 card. So either draft more or even with the time that I'm not using drafting, curate a cube, or at least the beginning of a cube.
Nice.
I want to do that because that sounds fun. It sounds like a nice way to honor my cards. So rather than putting them in a closet.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
My honorable mention, I want to bring... I used to do this thing on Twitter, and I want to do it on Twitter and mostly on Blue Sky now. I want to bring Daily Divine Visitation Vespers back.
Woo!
I would love to put that together for 5 days a week. Now, for those of you who weren't following me on Twitter ages ago, Daily Divine Visitation Vespers is a mouthful, but essentially what it is you take the card Divine Visitation. Essentially, it's an enchantment, and it says if one or more creature tokens would be created under your control, that many 4/4 angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance are created instead. So I was laughing because Andy, I think I was talking with you about this and was saying, this card works with thousands of cards.
Yeah.
Any card that makes a token creature that isn't a 4/4 flying Vig, it's probably not as good as a 4/4 flying Vig, and it could be replaced. So I started going through and finding random cards that made sense with this, and then I would come up with some really short, pithy little statement, because it has to fit in the, in the, 256 characters. And I would put that out. And I had fun doing that. And it was a way for me to stay engaged on social media in a way that I just don't now. So I want to get back to that. However, I also want to get at least 2 weeks worth of them sort of set up and ready to go before I start doing it, because the last thing I want to do is send one out and then promptly not follow up for 2 weeks.
Nice.
I would love to try and start doing that again.
You have undying support from me, but also a giant pool of cards to choose from. So
I think there are more cards that were put out in the last year. I don't think I could keep up with the rate that they're putting them out.
Yeah, my favorite has always been when you did it for April every day, it being a non-bow.
Oh, it was a non-bow.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do it for us this week, though.
I think so.
Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you press that subscribe button. If you're not watching on YouTube, go do that. You get to see the card Divine Visitation on the screen. Hooray! And what else?
Well, one more thing. Post in the comments. I want to hear what your resolutions are.
Oh, yeah.
Are you playing enough? Did you get the variety? You can mimic what we had, or you can give me something new. You're looking to inspire your playgroup. Maybe you're tired of always showing up and your playgroup is just offering chips and dip, and you want to spice that up.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of options. I'd love to hear what other people are going to resolve to try and make better with their Magic playing.
And we both want to thank you, everyone who watched last week's vignette. Mind-blowing. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the comments. All the engagement. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Happy New Year. We're excited for 2024. All of it. Whatever it'll bring.
Oh, yeah.
Will be exciting for sure. We'll be back next week with a cool episode about last year again. So stay tuned for that. Because I think you'll see a card or two that you might not know was a card, because there were so many of them.
Right, and I promise we will kick into 2024 very shortly.
Oh, yeah. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out. We're Temple of Falsepod. We're at X not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
I'm Bruce.
Have a great night. Play some Magic for me, and may your fifth land be the Temple.
Bye!
Wait. Before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. You can reach out to us via email at falsepodmtg@gmail.com or on Twitter @falsepodmtg. Bruce is @manaburned, and I'm @AndyWeekend, though you'll definitely notice I use the podcast Twitter far more often. Now that we've got you here, make sure you subscribe, rate us on whatever podcast platform you use. It helps us out. It gets us more reach. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like a video there. Leave some comments for more casual enjoyment. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with some more timeless discussions about all things casual. So come hang out, and may your fifth land be the Temple. Bye-bye. Should I do my best, Bruce? Bye!